SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. The wait is over.
Let's get this thing started.
Go! Yeah! Yeah! Shotgun! Yeah, stop! Welcome, one and all across the nation and around the world. I welcome you back to the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and we are back for episode 105 tonight. And with me, I have two great guest panelists that we have for this episode right here. First, we have to welcome back the current 9-time Vault of Fame inductee. He's been here now to where he is third on the list in the Vault of Fame as far as the amount of appearances on this show, and has crushed it each and every time he's been here. Gotta give it up for a man who needs no introduction at this point to this show. That is the one and only Kyle Nash. Welcome back to the show there, brother.
Honor, joy, and privilege to be back for this reintroduction. And hey, listen, as always on the In or Out Sports Debate Show, when you, me, or whoever the other guest is debate, the real winner is America. And since you have your pretty sweet little Christmas background, it's the best gift they can hope for this holiday season.
Absolutely. Hey, I gave you a sweet background, a clean face like yourself. I'm giving you all sorts of Christmas presents tonight.
I mean,
there, brother.
I don't know about removal being a gift. I think that's something we're all getting used to. I'm still not sure it's an impersonator who's hacked your account that's hosting this show really well at this point, but I'll get over all of it as we get into it, Drew Willingham.
Man, that imposter has a hell of a bar to reach if we are in for an imposterous episode on this 105 edition of the In or Out Sports Debate. For the first time since October 17th, we are here. But now we have to introduce our next guest panelist, one that you know very well on Friday afternoons, especially, well, late morning or whatnot. But brunch time, I guess you could say, the Duval Dive podcast co-host there. But when it comes to that, as well as his work with the Jaguar Report, as well as SBM Big Cat Country, you have to give it up to his great work there. And that is this guest panelist tonight. For the first time, Mr. Travis D. Holmes, welcome to the show there, brother.
Thank you for having me, sir. I mean, I appreciate it. I so thoroughly enjoyed the fact that you guys are letting me on to hopefully not destroy my co-host too badly. I know he's supposed to be a veteran, but hey, man, grab your popcorn, everybody, and grab your food, grab something to smoke, grab something to drink. Be sure to like and subscribe while this sucker is still free, man. Let's go.
I mean, I like the concept while it's still free, but hey, listen, while it's still free too for the Duval Dive, Travis needs to remember he's not even the best debater in his own show, but we can move on.
Hey, there it is. But what's free nowadays when it comes to the way we are in this economy? But that's a different topic, a different show. We are here for sports tonight, mainly football in this edition, depending on how this round 4 will go with all these topics that we got here. But with that, guys, before we go any further, we have to do what we always do at the beginning of every show, and that is pay homage to the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
And this right here, the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame, which you can find here on these audio platforms listed right here on Amazon Prime, Spotify, Anchor.fm. Well, it's changed now. Download it as well on iTunes, as well as anywhere else you listen to your Google Podcast or any other podcast. As I mentioned them all, SIRTOBA.com. So we can find this platform here on Facebook, Instagram, now X, and YouTube, where the struggle is real to be awesome. But we are back for episode 105. Have 5 great rounds to go through tonight. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take this into that first one, that being round 1.
Round 1.
And here with round 1, Aaron Rodgers should retire immediately upon season's end, as the Jets are hopeless beyond next season. We'll start this one off with you there, Kyle. How do you feel with this topic at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
You came right out with the fat kid and dodgeball question. I am out. Imagine my disdain when I put in a position to actually defend the roster of the New York Jets. But nonetheless, there's elements of it that are still pretty strong. Listen, when you say hopeless, that can mean a lot of things. Are they Carolina Panthers hopeless? Are they LA Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders hopeless? Are they the hopeless kind that can remember what franchise somebody's coming out of kind of hopeless? What kind of hopeless are we talking about here? Do I think they'll still be a playoff threat is where I draw that line. And listen, for all the crowding that's going on in the AFC just today, somehow the Broncos are competitive. Maybe because Nathaniel Hackett was the thing that made them not competitive. But all that being said, Aaron Rodgers retiring, I think, is the thing that would make them hopeless. And at the very least, they need the extra year to actually properly draft somebody not named Tim Boyle. By the way, spoiler alert, you draft a quarterback out of UConn, you're in a big kind of trouble. If there's problems with this roster, it's not Aaron Charles Rodgers. Hey, how about we start with an offensive line? That's a thing that's pretty important. We on the Duval Dive know what happens when the offensive line depletes. It's actually kind of sad. I don't even want to get into that protocol. But that all being said, that's a teaser for what we're going to talk a lot about on the Duval Dive. I think even Travis is going to agree with that for all the debate jokes that he and I have made so far. But listen, at the end of the day, Garrett Wilson's there. You got Alan Lazard. I'm assuming those two at least will stay around. If they improve that line in the offseason here, be it through the draft or free agency, and I think they should hold on to Robert Saleh. I think he continued to build that defense, who only lately, really, in my opinion, has fallen off. Like, we suddenly forgot that Sauce Gardner exists and is an excellent player, and they got a pretty good defensive front, too. For all the things that are wrong, if you're going to make a move or an adjustment, it's not Aaron Charles Rodgers. It's his buddy Nathaniel Hackett. By extension, though, here's the caveat. If you're doing that, well, you have to force Aaron Charles Rodgers into retirement. Separate question, not how the question is worded. But yeah, Aaron Charles Rodgers on his home 100% makes that team better, and he'll be at least a presence for a quarterback to watch. Whether or not Aaron Charles Rodgers is going to mentor somebody is another question. But yeah, I'm totally out on this. I think this is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction that we've come to know and love from the Jets fans.
Very well said there, Kyle Nash. I'm really interested to see how you feel about this, Travis. Do you agree with him on this? Are you out or are you in on this one?
I don't like generally agreeing with my co-host, but I actually have to in this situation. Yes, I am out. So the Jets are in a precarious situation, but they have their first, their third, their 2 fourth-round picks and a 6th-round pick in next year's draft. They have over $30 million in cap space. But the only true big negative as far as the team is concerned is they may have a massively different offensive line with Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown, and Connor McGovern, all free agents. But outside of that, this team has an incredible defense, to Kyle's point earlier, they have a solid receiver core. They have a questionable offensive coordinator, but he's also the offensive coordinator that Rodgers told him to bring in the first place. But frankly, I'm not just out in this situation. I'm as out as out can be. I am out not just for us. I am out for America. No, I need Aaron Charles Rodgers to play until he is 60 with the bionic leg and stem cell injections. Like if Rodgers is not playing in the NFL, where is he? You think that dude? You think Charles Rodgers is going to be out in these streets coaching high school football? No. That dude will be out here starting his own streaming service, peddling the next multi-level marketing scheme to like the best of them. Like this is no. I mean, that man has no family relationship, a well-documented history where they've been estranged for years. Also well-documented, he never really read coverages, so he's not like coaching high school football. He's not that dude, right? He kind of got by on his athletic gifts and kind of winged it. So, he's not going to be in the booth anytime soon. But the biggest part of all of this is it's never going to happen because Rodgers signed a $35 million signing bonus, which means he's going to have to pay back $22 million of that if he retired before the coming season anyways. So he has the $38 million guaranteed for 2024, and that was guaranteed only for roster and salary bonuses, which means if he retires before the season, he's not actually on the roster, and that's always deferred, and he actually doesn't get paid it. So he at minimum has to be recovering from his injury on the roster. So I'm out because that man is not going to pay that team $22 million, though. That's really all it comes down to.
No matter how much Pat McAfee gives him, I think that's where he lands if he does retire.
Unless he gets a huge bonus. But well said from you both. And when it comes to this, for the sake of debate.
Oh, here he goes.
I can't do it because you're on drugs if you do. I'm out too. When it comes to this right here, I mean, it's really tough to go any other way for Aaron Rodgers to retire. I mean, there's so many points that both of you brought up. It's kind of hard for me to spend that much time up here defending it because there's nothing to defend. You both absolutely nailed this topic right here because Aaron Rodgers didn't put all that work into his rehab to come back and potentially have the opportunity to play against my dumpster Pelican team known as the Washington Commanders this upcoming week because it was looking like there was a good chance it was going to happen. But unfortunately, with this right here, with the way they just recently got eliminated with the way they've been playing the past couple of weeks, it was pretty much hopeless for this season when Aaron Rodgers went down. Had this happened, the injury happened midway through the season. Now, of course, he wouldn't have been able to come back towards the end, but the Jets might have been able to still squeak into the playoffs based on the way the schedule was throughout the remainder of the season. But they had a really rocky start to the season, and that's because they lost Aaron Rodgers on the fourth mother, father, and play of the entire season. When it came to their offensive first series, he was knocked out. So, of course, I had you on a cliffhanger for a second, thinking that I was going to say it for the sake of debate. And sometimes, within reason, I can come up here and I can do that. But on this particular topic, I'm looking forward to seeing what these comments have in this section. We will acknowledge them here in a second. I look forward to seeing what you say, but you absolutely have to have something wrong with you upstairs if you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire after all that hard work that man put in, where he was going to come back and have the opportunity to potentially be in the playoffs. But like he said throughout, you got to be in a position to have that type of run if I can make it back in that time. He proved that he had the chance, a small chance, but we'll never know. We'll know that next year he'll be ready. And what's the point of putting in all this work if you can't utilize that work and it pay off? It's a lot of money on the table, like you both had stated, throughout both of your, statements to defend this. I can't think of any one reason, because even if he did Jeopardy, hosted Jeopardy like he had fun with, or whatever project he picked up, it's not going to pay him as much as what this next year of football is going to do. You sign the contract, you're going to come back. There's no way he's going to retire. But for the cliffhanger to get these comments rolling, as it looks like there are, we got Mick and Ike.
I can't let you do this. Maybe Aaron Charles Rodgers can't read defenses like Travis says, but don't act we didn't notice you slide in. You must be on drugs while we're talking about Aaron Charles Rodgers. We saw what you did there, and we're going to acknowledge it.
With Kyle Nash, I wasn't even prepared for that moment for you to take it there, but I'll give it to you.
Acknowledge me.
I am the tribal chief, baby.
Absolutely. And for the spirit of the holidays, for one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time, I'll give you this too.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
There it is. So when it comes to this for round one, let's see what you guys have to say here in the comments. We got Mickey Delaney here in the house jumping on in saying, let's go. She's throwing the love here, saying that he loves all three of us. I guess he's liking what he's seeing so far in this show. So we appreciate the love there, Mick. I'm in. Aaron needs to go to the Commanders. Wow.
Wow.
Mick,
failed selling out on Sam Howell. It's almost like somebody warned them about that, Drew.
Now shut your bitch ass up.
That's all I can think of in that moment. Let's click on. Because how are you going to send him to the Commanders? How is that good to even... No. Come on. He's not leaving the Jets. He is going to stay with the Jets. He's not going to retire.
I mean, the man does love attention. I don't know.
I mean, hey, wait a minute. Here's the thing, though. Real talk. I don't think Aaron Charles Rodgers I don't think he nor Eric Bieniemy, I said what I said, would suffer one another next season in a Red Tails scenario. So as cute as this simulation is, we both know where that's going. And go ahead, Drew.
But could he withstand what Sam Howell's gone through? The man's taking 59 sacks this year. 59 sacks. And he took a lot of them through the first half.
On that topic, I just finished sending off my thank you card to the Commander front office for all that Trent Williams has done for my team. So thank you.
Yes, and your team is definitely paying dividends on not only that, but Chase Young as well. I mean, not as much as with Trent Williams, but Trent Williams is definitely doing his job on the offensive line. I'm going to put some clips in my stories with not only this show, but the other one earlier. I really roasted the Commanders today. I really roasted them because I think I said they sucked like probably 30 times in only 40 minutes of a show. Like this show, Kyle, we go like 60 minutes or so, sometimes 90 minutes with this one because of the amount of topics we have. But with that one, I just spent 40 minutes, and I think I lost somewhere in there probably 30 times. I said they sucked one way, shape, form, and some type of sentence. The Commanders are terrible. Mick, you got me already fired up, and I already said earlier on that show on the outro part of it that I'm going to do whatever I can to keep the Commanders separate from this show just because you can't overdo it. You can't overdo it. You can talk about something that was good. If they were actually playing well, then we could sit here and have a topic. The Jags have a chance. We'll talk about them. The Commanders are out. That's the way I looked at it. I'm in. The Jets are fucking hopeless.
Stop it. Get some help.
Ike, where have you been? Where have you been with this nonsense? You come in here. It's been a while since I've seen the all caps with your name in it. So that's definitely great. But when it comes to that, you need to do this.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Definitely great when it comes to this moment right here with myself and Ike and us throwing it down with that.
Ike's always fun. We've been over that.
Yeah. They might win more games, like 2 more, but Aaron Rodgers might go down to second play next year because of what happened to him this year. I mean, you can't take 59 sacks like Sam Howell has. You got to be young and pretty tough to take that amount of sacks and still be playing with 3 weeks left in the season.
All right. I know this is not the subject of today's conversation. However, Sam Howell is also 19th in the league as far as time to throw. He just holds the ball forever.
That's also the only team with their starting quarterback that is in the basement too, probably for that very reason.
Right. So it's not to say Rodgers couldn't survive in that kind of offense because he is still a veteran quarterback who knows how to get rid of the ball, unlike Sam Howell.
He's also only lasted 4 snaps with an inferior line. So there's that.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Yeah. And it's not an upgrade to go to Washington. Talk about 19th. Like, if you said 9, I'd be like, okay, I could live with that. But 19th, no. And plus,
it might be an upgrade offensively, just not defensively.
You'd rather give up on a 23, 24-year-old quarterback and go for a 41-year-old quarterback at that point. We're turning 41 during the season.
Quarterback that's going to do nothing. We're going to do this again.
We already know about your hatred towards him because of that.
My accurate assessment of ACC failure, Sam Howell. Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, ages much? Like, I'm like, I don't care how old he is. Does he suck? Is he good? Sam Howell sucks. I don't care how old he is. If you told me that dude was 17, I'm like, all right, dope. He's still on the bench. Like, it don't matter what he.
You're making me and Travis agree, dude. That should tell you everything.
But I'm disappointed. I mean, it's not like he has trash numbers completely. I mean, he's thrown for nearly 4,000 passing yards. He'll have over 4,000 passing yards by the time the season's over. He hasn't thrown more interceptions than touchdowns.
I mean, that's all well and dandy, man. I was arguing with Commander fans on the Twitter, on the X or whatever they want to call it now, about a month ago, and this is right before, like, the game before he started his just ridiculous downfall, because I saw it coming a mile away. I'm like, dude, half the games the dude's behind, he's 10 plus points behind, and I'm not gonna say it's all garbage time, but it's kind of like it's garbagey. It ain't landfill, but it has a little hint of trash.
You might,
yeah. Little old garbage disposal that just needs to be a little, rinsed out a little bit. Like have that going for you. Like you know it when you smell it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that as well, kind of when Jacoby Brissett comes in there and gets 2 touchdowns back to back and gets them to within a 1 possession of tying the game right there towards the end. There just wasn't enough time left. But it also says a lot about the Rams, who just got to 7-7, who are in the playoff hunt, I guess. But at the same time, like they kind of got exposed at the end, because if you're going to keep a dumpster Pelican team like the Commanders in it to where they're 1 possession away from potentially changing up the trajectory of the game, it says a lot about how they're going to be going to the playoffs.
I mean, also says a lot about such a situation where you could have come back and then didn't. It's a very Ron Rivera thing, which is why I think he's on his way out. I mean,
that's why I can't put so much shade on Sam Howell, because you got to think this is probably not the most comfortable locker room to be in since the start of the season, because they all knew heads were going to roll at the end of this year once the ownership got the feel of how the NFL works throughout this first season, because they're all new to being types of owners in the NFL. Once this season's over, they're going to clean house. You see what you did here, Mick? You turn this show into Commanders to where we are defending in all different directions. So maybe we'll have to bring you guys on to that show at some point. You guys can throw some shade on that, and I'll find a way to defend it or agree it, or we'll just bring this topic.
We can be therapists to you suffering with your red tails. Sorry, Commanders.
It's enough to be suffering throughout any type of name change, because, I mean, they're changing names like bed sheets all over the past few years, from one to another to now this, and they're most likely going to do it again within the next year or two. So I'm just riding the wave for what it is, but I'm just trying to be as loyal as I can to a team that's a part of since birth. I had no choice. I was in these baby clothes, when I was in Huggies. I mean, I got pictures to prove it. I kind of got to stick with
inspiration for such great programming that we get out of your Commander show and the very awesome SIRTOBA Media logo.
Poor baby, hey. And they treating you guys like a G League team. This sucks. Just all the name changes.
Hey, I ain't mad at it. I'm just going to do the best I can to roll with it and find some type of positivity at the end of the day. I haven't given up on Sam Howell yet. If he had 15 touchdowns and 19 interceptions, I'd be completely against it. But there's so much of a mess going on within that locker room.
Yeah,
that,
I got you.
The ownership can't clean it all up within the first season. It's going to take a complete offseason, which they didn't have, because they didn't come until July. So you could throw the angle in different ways. I think if he actually had a full off season with the right staff, it's already gotten this much out of him. It's not all EB, because if EB was so great, like you were telling me earlier in the year there, Kyle Nash, it'd have more than 4 wins.
You can't have that both ways. You can't come at me with quarterback numbers and then be suddenly like, oh, the wins though. I mean, like, which is it?
It's both. I mean, look at his numbers last year for the one game that he played in. They weren't trash. I mean, he led that team to a victory in that.
Did you say game. The one game he played in?
Really
Why am I teaming up with the guy I'm supposed to be arguing with right now? Because you saying some crazy stuff right now, brother. That boy said one game, not even one win.
It's a division rival for a team that's actually competitive in a playoff chase, which the Commanders are not. I'll give you that. The Commanders are not competitive in a playoff run. I'll throw as much shade on him as you do all day, but I'm at least acknowledging the fact that he did better than the other quarterbacks that are playing throughout the year. So
brother,
I think if they give him
Sam Howell is Gardner Minshew. Sam Howell is 2021 Gardner Minshew. He's a solid enough guy who's going to make you win some games. He's going to be exciting, but that does not make him good. That just makes him better than the other guys you had.
Let me give you a tip, Drew. Stop feeding the troll, because he will keep fighting you until you end the topic on me.
Yeah, but look at how much time Gardner Minshew has had. Okay, and look at how many seasons. All right, you haven't given this kid enough of a chance yet to where after this is like his first season, like rookie season. He didn't really get an opportunity last year because he was on third string in practice squad and wasn't even getting noticed. Ron Rivera didn't even know who the hell he was until Taylor Heineke spoke up. So I can feed a troll all you want to all day, but I can feed it on back. Bring it on back to me to where you're feeding me now to where we are all hyped. We haven't even gotten to round 2 yet. And that's not even our topic on this show. Save that energy for round 2. And you know what? Just as a spite, next time we have this trios episode, I'm going to bring a Commander's topic on this show to where we can actually spin the top on it. I didn't think it was going to go this sideways, but look at what you did, Mick. You got us all fired up. Let's take it into round 2 and see what we can do with that energy here with this next one.
Round 2.
Here with round 2. Ties with Arthur Smith would be best for the Falcons after the Week 15 embarrassment. Go ahead and start this one off with you there, Travis, when it comes to this team right here with the Falcons. Do you agree with this statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in. Like, come on, duh. This has been obvious since what, like the 2022 season? Yeah, he earned a longer rope because he got that 2021 team to overachieve by being flexible, sort of out of necessity. Specifically, if you're talking about fans who dabble in fantasy football, all the things that he did with Cordell Patterson, as far as rushing the ball and receiving the ball, and had what was it, like 1,100 to 1,200 total combined yards. He obviously significantly overachieved with that 2021 team, but in 2022, he finally got some guys, and finally tried to build the offense that he had in Tennessee, a vertical offense that focuses on the run game and focuses on the play action game. But the writing was on the wall as soon as anyone saw that dude, who wants to build that type of offense and still struggles to use Kyle Pitts, who still struggles to use what was the receiver? Goodness gracious. I'm sorry?
Drake London, right?
Yeah, Drake. Yeah. Drake London. Struggles to use London and then gets a prime running back in Bijan and still struggles to use him consistently. What are we doing? This ain't even a hard conversation. Like, that's an easy one for me. Get the paint.
So Kyle, Kyle, I don't even think I need to even ask.
What? I have the swimwear rhyme ready to go and everything, and just go, nope, screw it. We know.
It's too early. It's too early.
Listen, at day's end, Travis nailed this one thoroughly. I mean, this is a guy who's famous for running the football and then has all these weapons that Travis mentioned and can't use all of them. The only thing I'll disagree with Travis on is, well, fantasy owners know him for 2021. Yeah, fantasy owners also know him for how bleeding bad he's been since, and the underutilization of hey, wait, they have this vertical offense. I'm going to get the bejesus amount of points and draft Kyle Pitts. It's all like Donkey Kong. Sorry, system. What are we doing here, folks? Even Commodores played video games better than you coach football right now. But I don't even think that's where the biggest problems are. You need a complete reboot of that team. And by extension, because that's the case, he should go as well. Listen, I know, but he's competing for the playoffs in the NFC South. That's only because they suck too. Everybody, like, we're looking at a world, gentlemen, where the NFC South could turn over their coaches in their entirety. They may not, because they're a bad set of franchises, but that's on the table. This is how bad they are, and they're lingering towards sending a losing team to host a home game for the second consecutive season. And that's a whole other thing. I think we've had a topic on this show, too, about how I feel about that and how losing teams shouldn't get the right to own a home game. But that's a whole other thing. The punchline is this. Miller needs to be fired, less because of the job he's done in particular. I mean, listen, when you're in a world where you're at one point starting Marcus Mariota and in another, your option to go to Taylor Heineke is better than your starter. No offense to Taylor Heineke, by the way. That should say literally everything. Travis and I, on your edition of the Duval Dive on the SIRTOBA Media version here on your YouTube channel that we're enjoying, where the struggle is real to be awesome, both were afraid of the concept for, oh yeah, by the way, bing, Both of us were afraid of the concept as Jags analysts that he might enter the game, Taylor Heineke, because he'd be an improvement. And by the way, I tried to tell you about Desmond Ridder years ago, Atlanta fan / Arthur Miller, and you thought he was a good idea for a starter. Fool us once by thinking Marcus Mariota may have something. Shame on you. You didn't fool me twice, so I got no shame. The only shame that needs to be done is taking care of that whole thing and make the fraud cons reboot, so maybe insurance adjusters out there might take them seriously moving forward.
All right. In the spirit of the holidays, I'm going to agree. I'm going to roast him, but I'm going to do it in a nice way. All right. When it comes to this topic right here, when it comes to old Arthur Smith, old Artie from what they like to call him there on the Pat McAfee show, he's been the head coach now. He's been there for 3 years. When you look at what this man has done, was there any progress from the first season to the now third season? No, because in the first season he went 7-10. In the last season he went 7-10. Right now he's 6-8. So looking at this record right now, is there any improvement in this team, in anyone's opinion? Because he hasn't even reached the amount of wins that he has reached in the previous 2 seasons. With 3 games left, there is still a possibility for him to achieve that, to win 2 out of the next 3 games. But even if you do that, your record's still going to be under 500, which you can't even get 500 now because since the way they switched it to 17 games not that long ago. Now right here with Arthur Smith, not only that, but what is he looking at when he's looking at the field? You got to think about the amount of challenges this man's thrown in these years. And when he's thrown the challenges, he doesn't even get them right half the time. In his first season, he was 0-2 with challenging plays. But the next season, Artie decided to take it on up a notch. And instead of challenging twice, he challenged 4 times. And he only got 2 of those 4 right. And this current year right now is the same exact thing. He's gone for half the amount of time where he's gotten 6 challenges thrown and only 3 of them he's actually converted. So looking at this right here, I don't know if that mustache is helping him out when he's looking at the field. It's not aerodynamic enough to where he can get the vision on what the play is. And I told you I was going to roast you, but I'm trying to be nice about it because it is the spirit of the holidays. I don't want to take it too far out to left field. Right here, we can go off the rails if we want to when it comes to Arthur Smith because of what we're seeing out here. The changes of the quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota last year was depressing. And now with what we have going on this year, they've got more things going on that are, I'd say, negative than positive. But out of the team where I just got roasted by both of you guys, that's the one that I represent, I guess, when it comes to all that being said, I'm just going to take it for what it is and say right here with Arthur Smith, I can't disagree with it because I cannot afford to get roasted and go for the spirit of the debate on this one because I don't have anything in defense to sit here and say he deserves to stay. There's some comments over here we need to look at. I'm sure there's probably a wild one. We're about to find out real quick. Oh, well. They should keep him for more draft picks in 2025. Well, I don't know what you mean by more draft picks because it's not like if you suck, you get extra draft picks. You just go up in the order. It's not like you get 2 first-round picks because you suck that bad. It doesn't work like that, Ike. But, guys, I mean, do you have anything else to add to this team here known as the Falcons? Because there's some people I said when I was talking to them earlier, they're like, oh, you're going to talk about the Falcons? Yeah, and they want us to roast them pretty bad. We need to do this, but for the spirit of the holidays, I'm just trying to set it up for you.
I mean, I was a little confused. Yeah, I get the holiday season part. At first, you were like, I need to be nice while roasting him for the holiday season. I'm like, what? You got a Photoshop of him dressed up as a chestnut on an open fire or something? What are we doing here?
Now, the closest we'll have for like the actual visuals of the holiday spirit.
Amazing. I'm not shortchanging that, but like, listen, chestnuts roasting on what? Are you that ageist that you don't know who Nat King Cole is? What are we doing here?
Of course, I know who Nat King Cole is. I mean, it is the spirit of the holidays, but when it comes to that, I don't know if I can associate that with this team or not. I think we need to do better than that.
Well, I mean, they don't wear green, so we can't make them the Grinch. But I got you. We can do that.
Like, I'm wondering if maybe he's just saying that Atlanta has less draft picks in 2024. I mean, they got a few 4th rounders. They don't have they're missing a few 7th rounders. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. Maybe that, yeah.
This is an example for all the trash that Travis talks. Whether he can back it up or not is another story. But all the trash he talks on me, this is the support I get when we do the Duval Dive, with his ability to come in and be like, I'm trying to figure out what you're thinking to where you might be right, instead of going to right, nah, stop it. But then again, I wouldn't tell Ike to stop it either, because he's awesome in the comments on this show. So there's that.
Yeah, keep it flowing. You and Mick. I mean, definitely keep it going out there with the wild stuff. Sometimes the show goes really off the rails. I mean, you saw what Mick did in the first round. I mean, we kind of did there for about 10 minutes, but it was fun. I had a good time. We'll probably do it again throughout this episode. But
Ike, walk off the cliff, Ike. Don't allow a bad driver to drive your Mercedes off the cliff and then let him drive the next Mercedes off the cliff also. That's Arthur Smith. If you've seen that he's a bad driver, take the man's license and put him on a bus. Like let's come out of misery.
You're nicer than me. I'd have him walking.
Hey man, we could be reasonable people. We are all civilized. This ain't Urban Meyer. Like, come on, we can do this. It's a normal person.
You had to bring up being mired in Urban's coaching at some point, I suppose.
He's made enough money. He can Uber now. I mean, he can afford to Uber there, old Artie. He's made enough money in these past 3 years. So we'll see what happens. So I think by the end of the season, we're going to see many coaching differences. I mean, many coaching changes throughout this offseason. I mean, it's not going to just be with one or two teams. We're going to see a bunch of changes based on what we've already seen throughout this season. I mean, the Panthers, you got to think about them too. They're probably not going to stick with their current head coach. There's going to be other moves made throughout the NFL, but I feel like this team right here, now with it only being 3 weeks left in the season, they're not going to make the change now. So we'll see what happens by the end of the season. Right. But guys, let us know here in the comments how you feel about this topic right here. We're going to go into our first commercial break, and when we come back, we've got another great set of topics for the last 3 rounds. We'll see you after this commercial break.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition, dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the SIRTOBA Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
That's right. We're still celebrating 100+ mother-fathering episodes of this show right here when it comes to the In or Out Sports Debate. When you have this being number 105, we are back from that commercial break. We got 3 great topics to get to here. That being said, let's go ahead and take it into round 3 and see what I got here for you guys.
Round 3.
Joe Flacco will lead the Browns to a Super Bowl appearance this season. Comes this topic right here, Kyle Nash. How do you feel about it? Are you in, or are you obviously out on this one?
Oh my gosh, Clay Aiken called. I'll never be this far out ever again, I don't think. Listen, on the Duval Dive, on the Student of the Game, on the Huddle Up podcast, by the way, a myriad of bings for all of the above. Listen, I can tell you this. I was the one guy who was talking, but it was Joe Flacco. I don't understand. It's like, y'all keep forgetting Joe Flacco's an upgrade. But pump the bleeding brakes. What are we doing? A Super Bowl? Listen, Kevin Stefanski is currently the leader in right now for my Student of the Game Coach of the Year award. If the playoffs were to start today, the Browns are there. Nobody had that on their bingo card after the month of September. Sure, it was trendy to be like, well, the Browns will win 10 games because they have Deshaun Watson and he'll do better. That did not materialize. Sure, Chubb was still a thing in the backfield. Oh, wait, that went horribly wrong as well. Here we come with Kareem Hunt still doing his thing and the myriad of injuries, and still somehow they were even productive. They even beat the 49ers, granted. Trent Williams was hurt, the actual 49er MVP, but nobody wants to talk about that / hashtag big man oppression. But all the above be saying this, they're going to make the playoffs. I feel pretty confident in that. I've said as much on other shows, and that alone, credit to Joe Flacco for coming out. Yes, I know it was an injury decimated Jaguar team, but like a veteran, he sliced that team up, knowing what the weaknesses were. It's almost as if he, get this, studied film, which is what quarterbacks of his age are known for doing, knowing for using their smarts, knowing for making that happen. But the Super Bowl, let's pump this brakes just a mite. Let's get it down. Call HR. Maybe there's some drugs involved. I don't know, but let's relax. To quote future Red Tail quarterback Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, I never said it. I never said it.
That's the joke. Hey,
I know. I'm just saying. I never said it. But hey, Travis.
Oh man, why do we keep ending up on the same side of the train tracks, bro? I'm out. Flacco, thank your lucky stars. You need to be sending Cash Apping, Jim Schwartz, the Cleveland DC, all half of your contract, because the fact that he just signed a contract extension of adding on another year to that contract after that game against the Jaguars is just perfect timing of striking while the iron is hot. At the end of the day, I don't know many people outside of the state of Ohio who will be in on this one. The Jaguars made him look way better than he is just by letting dudes run wide open to the tune of 3 touchdowns, 150 yards of that game stats we talked about on the Duval Dives episode 2 weeks ago. He's a solid quarterback who will at minimum make a few mistakes, but he will sort of kind of make up for those mistakes ever so often. But he pretty much is just barely a net positive, which is still an improvement when you're talking about Deshaun Watson. Again, we want to keep it 100. But like he showed him that 3 INT game against Chicago, which included a pick 6. That's the guy you're getting. He's a veteran who generally should be protecting the football, but in each of those games, other than the Jaguars, he still turned the ball over. And most teams just aren't giving up 17 points with their quarterback also throwing a pick 6 and 2 more interceptions. Like this squad is, frankly, they're the NFL's version of FSU, of the Florida State Seminoles. They're just actually going to make the playoffs. That's the biggest difference. Unfortunately, that's just because we don't have a selection committee. But they're the best defense in the NFL for DVOA, but then they're like the 29th ranked offense. Like Flacco ain't doing nothing. He's just not screwing up too much that the defense can't do it. So sort of like his Baltimore Ravens days.
Very, very well said. Both of you guys, when it comes to that, there's a lot of similarities between those Ravens days and this Browns days. Not really so much the Jets days, but with this, I have to agree, and we are not going to agree this entire show, I promise you. But with this one, I'm definitely agreeing. I'm out. All right, guys, those of you who are still watching out there, I know that you're probably thinking, you guys are agreeing this entire show. But each and every one of us is bringing a different level to the statements when it comes to defending why we feel this way. When it comes to this right here, Joe Flacco, definitely, I guess you could say now, a journeyman within the NFL. The only success that he has really had is behind strong defenses. And the Browns team, with the 9 wins they have this year, is definitely a result of the way the defense is played. They've had inconsistencies at quarterback. DTR looked good in that one preseason game, and there was a lot of hype on him coming out of college. But unfortunately, and I kind of drank a little bit of that Kool-Aid. I'll admit that. I've said it in the past about DTR. I will sit here and take my licks when I deserve to take them, okay? But right here, when it comes to situation with the Browns. You go from giving all that guaranteed money to Mr. Slap a Towel around in a room with a table, and we're not going to go too far to what landed him and just paying all that money to get back onto the field, not have to face any time. Now he's on the shelf. You're paying him all this money. You can't play. Then you have DTR come in, and then you have to bring Joe Flacco in, who up until recently you still had on the practice squad. So going back to the practice squad on Mondays, where any team could sign him. Point being made right here. The only good season, well, I wouldn't say the only good season because the Ravens did have some decent seasons with him at quarterback based on everybody else around him, where he was basically the more modern era Trent Dilfer. Okay. Now he's got the same situation going on, except for he's a little bit older. He's not doing anything more special than he was doing back when the Ravens won a Super Bowl before. That does not mean that they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. They've got a good amount of wins with the chance to win 3 more games and finish this season at 12-5, which would be a pretty respectable record considering that the guy you're paying a lot of money to play quarterback isn't even in to play the position and have you at 9 wins and sitting pretty decent going towards the end of the season to where you have a good chance of not only winning a division, or getting in the playoffs, but getting a decent seed out of it so we're going to have a home game or whatnot. So with all that being said, does that mean if they do get to that position and they play a first round home game, they're going to win and automatically go to the AFC Championship and then go to the Super Bowl? No, because there's a lot of other great teams out there that are coming and ready to play. And even if they did make the Super Bowl, we already know Kyle Nash's team is going to show up and destroy them this year. I've already bent the knee at that. At this point in the season, okay? I know I was talking all that smack. And that's why we do not have a 49ers topic on here tonight because I know that Kyle Nash would definitely be tearing into me. And by the looks of the way things are going so far, Travis wouldn't be far behind him. So I'm just going to take it for what it is and just go ahead and leave the 49ers topic off of here. So if those of you out there watching want to throw some comments in there, I'm not even going to acknowledge that comment because the 49ers, we're leaving it off the table. I bend the knee. We'll see. I could be wrong. But there are some 49er fans out there taking it to a whole new level. But I'm going to leave that for other people to decide and discuss about. When it comes to this right here, Joe Flacco, I've thrown some curveballs so far throughout these first 3 rounds. That's my whole point of making this show. It's for comedy. It's for other ways to set you up like we're playing volleyball. Volley it on up there. And you spike it on over. That's the whole point of the show. And for those of you watching it, and yes, we've agreed on everything so far. But I promise you, it is not going to stay that way. We are going to get back to arguing about something here in just a minute.
This is really easy. It's Travis's very pathetic comparison to the ACC, to the toughest division in the NFL, as if the ACC has any credibility and is in fact inferior to the American Conference. And that's why his precious FSU Seminoles didn't get in. It wasn't the selection committee. It was the fact you had an injured quarterback and beat up a bunch of 8th graders thinking you're champions because you're undefeated. That's the whole reason.
So that sounds like the Cleveland Browns missing your top quarterback.
Good division. Even without top quarterbacks, their defenses are all at least somewhat amazing. And by the way, somewhere in there is Lamar Demetrius Jackson.
The defenses are all amazing. You said it right.
And they actually beat Lamar Demetrius Jackson, the Browns. I'm not taking that away from them by cheapening them, comparing them to the biggest fraud in college football, that is the ACC.
We do agree that the ACC.
Yeah. I'll give that to you.
So,
just not saying how.
You may agree on that, but listen. Everyone kept asking for disagreement, and I brought it, Travis.
No, we do agree that the ACC is a joke of a conference. What we don't agree is, actually, you know what? The AFC. Between the conferences as it currently stands is the joke of the division.
Wait. So the NFC South exists, and you can say that.
No. I didn't say. What I'm saying is the AFC. The NFC is the better side of the coin currently.
That's
versus the.
I don't
versus the
go there when the NFC South is a thing.
Oh, it's not about the NFC South specifically, but the top tier teams in the NFC versus the top tier teams in the AFC. If there is an argument to be made for Cleveland to at least be able to run that table and to make it to something crazy like a Super Bowl, again, I don't see it happening but I can at least understand the argument of Joe Blow in Sandusky, Ohio, who is just like he's putting a second mortgage on the house and he's getting ready to go to Cedar Point. Like I feel you. I do understand. I see the route there. It's not as some zero chance, but you gonna make some money if you make that bet.
You see the bet, you're still gonna jump it like the DB you are, sir. I get it.
They are not winning the division, especially after with what's transpired recently with the Ravens. I mean, you still got to go against the Texans, the Jets, and the Bengals, which the Bengals haven't been quiet this year, even without their starting quarterback. So when it comes to all that, you got some tough opponents at you, and at best, they're going to get in as a wild card. They would have to win the first round. I know I was throwing all that mumbo jumbo BS about them going to be having a home game, but it's not likely. You're going to get in as a wild card if they get in, and when it happens, they're not going to make much noise. They're just going to be pretty much glad to be there.
I think they can get a win.
Bingo.
Then they make it to the division game past the wild card round. Okay. Which, I mean,
right.
Yeah,
but all the top AFC teams have chinks in the armor, and that's the biggest issue. And that's the reason that I'm like, well, if you have the best defense as they do, I can see that route. That's all I'm getting at. It's not
NFC
impossible.
It's more top heavy. I didn't catch that. You were like, when you were saying the NFC was better, I didn't know you were meaning just at the top, which that part is absolutely true. So I get you there.
I kind of want to see if it can get to that point. I kind of want to see the Ravens and the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game.
You're going to see them in a couple of weeks. I know that.
I know, but I think that once we see that, I mean, I may change my mind after seeing that game. But just right now, based on the explosive offense and how the defense is played with the Ravens, I feel like it'd be a pretty good matchup for us to get going towards the Super Bowl. And one of those two teams will be a better opponent for the 49ers in the Super Bowl, because I've already written it off. 49ers going to the Super Bowl. Okay. Will they win it? I don't know. I'm not even going to say that, but they're going to get to the Super Bowl.
If they stay healthy, that's always their question. That's their question every year.
It's not they. If Trent Williams stays healthy, I'll agree with you, Drew, but I'll see it first before I get that confident.
And we still have a few more weeks left in the season. With that being said, we've got a couple more rounds left to get to, and we got a round 4 that we stick within the tradition of the show for now, but also because we're so close to covering all the numbers when 0 to 100 when it comes to all those numbers. This being round 4. Let's see what we got with this one for 105.
Round 4.
Donovan McNabb is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 5 in all of sports history. This right here, Travis, set the tone for us right here there, brother. What do you think? You in? Or are you out on this one?
I'm regretfully out. I'm a major Donovan McNabb fan overall. Like I am. Like he had his 6 Pro Bowls in his 10 years in Philly. That's solid. That's a solid start. At least just to start the conversation. But he never received even one All-Pro season by his peers and on his coaches. Like that's pretty damning in the modern NFL. He also had the 0 championships, and that makes that even a harder argument overall. And if we're talking about like maybe the best NFL players or something along those lines, maybe we can make that conversation. Like that seems more legit just because many don't wear the number 5. But overall, I'm probably going with somebody like an Albert Pujols. We're going MLB. Somebody who bats 300, over 700 home runs, 11-time All-Star. What is it, over like around 20 years, a little over 20 years in the league, 2-time world champion, etc. Like they do have 1 billion awards. Somebody like that, and I'm probably going to go with him over one of those old-timey baseball players who played before minorities were allowed in the league, because I don't think that's, when they had the old cameras and everything. Like I'm not here for that. That's a whole different argument with an asterisk. So yeah, I'm probably going to say somebody like an Albert Pujols over McNabb, just because that's a rough one. If all you're doing is just stacking up Pro Bowls, but you're not really being voted by your peers and by coaches as the best guy.
I like that take, especially, there are some certain old timey baseball players that we have video footage of them, but not all the type of angles and stuff that we've seen over the last like 40 good 40 years, probably
Right.
close to 50. It's been since like the 60s or so. The 60s when we really started getting more angles like Willie Mays, and then beyond from that is when we really started. So I like that take with that. When it comes to you, Kyle Nash, you out, or do you actually want to go and take the role with Donovan McNabb in?
No, listen, I am way out on this one. Listen, I too am a really big Donovan McNabb guy. I really enjoyed what he did. I thought it was absolutely stupid what the local chapter of the NAACP did to Donovan McNabb, going after him publicly for not playing quarterback, quote, black enough. It was actually absolutely disgusting. I talked about it one of the earlier episodes of the Student of the Game podcast. Bing! The first edition, by the way, not in the current form that it is. That's how far back Donovan McNabb goes at this point. He was booed coming on the stage. Literally everything was working against Donovan McNabb as a Philadelphia Eagle, and it was just an unfortunate situation. And he overcame a lot. I know Michael Vick gets a lot of credit for what he did for quarterbacks, but I think what Donovan McNabb did is also overlooked to a certain extent, mostly because, as Travis mentioned, he didn't get any Super Bowls, and his receivers were the likes of a dude that was regularly marked for being called Todd Stinkston, and this guy, Freddie Mitchell, who was called Fred X, and we never heard from again. This dude sold more hats than he did more of his own jersey with the R imprinted in the FedEx logo, okay? But all of the above to say this, friends, I get Travis's point of not acknowledging players with the color barrier not being lifted, and I don't know that there is a famous number 5 from the Negro Leagues back in that day that we can reference to try to do a very interesting historical juxtaposition. However, in this particular topic, in one of the foundational players of stickball, I have to get involved there. First of all, thank you, Travis, for picking Albert Pujols, because the thing you don't know is there's a ghost in Drew Willingham's past. The first time I dunked on him super hard.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Was as the non-baseball guy assuring him that he would break the record in our first appearance on the show. Legacy on Fire, I believe it was, with our friend Darrell Owens. So there is somebody who's a witness, and you've brought that demon back, and I didn't have to do it. So
okay.
To say, I tried to tell you that Winnie Pujols was going to do it, but you didn't listen. And not all the above to say, I have Joe DiMaggio. Imagine this. You have a situation with LeBron where Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan exists back in the 30s in baseball. I get it. The color barrier situation is a great point, Travis. I'm still going to go this way. And it's Babe Ruth. And then another guy comes along and somehow does the same kind of impact, and it's for the same franchise, so they can continue to win World Series at a clip we haven't seen in a long time since. That would be Joe DiMaggio. Hell, Cuckoo. Oh, no, where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? The symbol he was, not just in New York, but for the nation, was a thing, and that has to be accounted for. Now,
he had a whole song. I mean, he lifted the nation during
you're talking about, I know the one you're talking about, too. I forget the actual
Joe DiMaggio song or whatnot.
Yeah. I forget how it goes. What you know, Joe, or whatever. I don't know. There's one of those, very big bandy type songs. Yes. That too. I was more referring to Simon and Garfunkel, with their hit there too. That whole situation was the foundation upon which was built and improved by the inclusion aspect that came later, where it was desegregated and everybody was allowed to participate. I cheapen nothing with that, but DiMaggio was a big part of that super dominant Yankees franchise at that time.
I still want to argue it, but I want to let Drew get his in. But yeah,
you'll get your time. You'll get your time when I'm done. I'll definitely let you go back on Kyle.
Right there. I'm not here to tell you you don't have a good argument for somebody who's better, but I'm purely playing the foundation argument. You can't beat that here.
The one thing I'm going to say before I give my take is Joe DiMaggio did have a lot of help with him there on those Yankees teams.
A billion
He won 9 championships, and I mean, he did play a lengthy career, but he won 9 championships, but the times were different. Like Travis was saying, I mean, it was a much different time. Baseball was completely different without the segregation. I mean, just the way it was played. I mean, it was just a completely different type of game back there. So, you know, the way that they cheated in some ways, it makes it a little bit easier in order to get those wins like the Yankees did. And it has definitely been proven, which is why I cannot agree with you, Kyle. I agree that we are out on Donovan McNabb. But I disagree with you. And when it comes to this, I'm out as well. Travis thought I was going to go with Joe DiMaggio for a second, but no, not going with Joe DiMaggio because certain things I thought about, even though I thought it was funny to put Donovan McNabb here, is the actual number 5. Because, I mean, you got to think, he bounced from the Eagles to a team within the division, a team I don't want to get hung up on right now. But they gave him all this money after he played a few good games to start the season. And he took a dump. And then where'd he go? The Vikings, and didn't play well anymore. That's why I cannot give him this as number 5. When it comes to the best to wear number 5, I mean, when it comes to stats and you look down the line, of course, some people are going to say you got to give it to Jolton Joe. But I disagree with that. Very good take with Albert Pujols as well. But it's a sport. This is a completely different sport. This isn't baseball. This isn't football. This is a sport that's very physical as well, though, and one that's very tough to play for 10 years, let alone 25, and in 25 seasons. Nicholas Lidstrom, this is one that I'm picking for the best to wear number 5 in all sports history. Playing for the Detroit Red Wings for his entire career. How many guys can say played for the same team for 25 years? Brady couldn't even do it in football. He had to go somewhere else to have success. And he's not even the one that wears number 5, but that's just an example of someone who had to leave. Did the Red Wings win championship after championship all the time? No. I mean, they were not that type of team. But the biggest success that he had in that time was he went to the Olympics and won the 2006 gold medal there, and he was 20 years into his legendary career at that point. That the fact that he played in 3 of the world championships. In 1991, he got gold. In 2004, he got the silver in the Czech Republic. And as well as going back to 1994, he had a bronze there. So, I mean, he got each and every medal on the stage of the world championships. And thinking that he played into his 20th season and won a gold medal at that point, you got to give it up to him. I mean, he definitely was a very big competitor there for defense when it comes to the defense of the Red Wings. Now, are they a team that won 9 championships throughout, you know, like the legendary career that they say that Jolton Joe had? But we didn't live through that. We didn't see it. What I can tell you is I remember playing NHL 98 on Sony PlayStation, playing video games back in the day. Being a kid, being a mother, father, and nerd, and playing the game. And I loved playing with the Detroit Red Wings because you had him on there. And was he like an overall 100 and just unstoppable in the game? No. But he was pretty decent. And he brought an extra flair to your team. And right around NHL 98, you could make trades. I could make a trade for Nicholas Lidstrom if I wanted to. And I believe I did. When it comes to that situation here, though, and this guy being at the top of the list of people to wear the number 5, I can't go with Donovan McNabb. I cannot go with Jolton Joe DiMaggio, even though I'm not going to hate on your pick or Travis's picks because they're very respectable picks for the number 5 because our Pujols did hit over 700 home runs. Yes, I acknowledge Kyle Nash. When it comes to that right there, I know you just want me to give this.
Acknowledge me.
Okay, I acknowledge you that I was wrong. I acknowledged it before. I was wrong. But this right here, I feel like all 3 of our answers are right in some way, depending on what era you're looking at. Because hockey, that era, 87 to 2012, when Lidstrom played, you had Wayne Gretzky and so many other great talents around you in the game of hockey. And hockey is still brutal today and was even more brutal back then. It's kind of like talking about how football was back then to now. So for someone to last 25 years and play in 4 decades of hockey, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and 2012. I mean, the 2010s. I have to give him serious consideration for 25 years in a very tough sport. I'm going with Nicholas Lidstrom.
Dang.
I mean, the longevity argument is fascinating.
Right. That's the biggest piece. That I'm just like, yo, how do you trump that?
I haven't even been a student of the game for 25 years yet. Like, that's,
Goodness. Yeah, I think you may have a legitimate point on that one. Not to mention, I don't know enough about hockey. I can barely ice skate. This is a problem.
Hockey is, to Drew's point, very, very grinding, and it's definitely a marathon of pain.
Oh no, I've seen it. Again, I went to school at Northern Michigan University with the U.S. hockey team, so like I'm there with it, but I don't. The act of it, the physicality of it, the process of doing it, I don't know the ins and outs in that way, and that just sound like the entire argument, like 25 years of anything that's as physical as that as hockey is. Yeah, that's an impossible argument at that point. Like, he's probably gonna win just based on that, because it's not like he's an NFL kicker like Morton Anderson. Like, that was my other argument. Morton Anderson wore 5 twice, but technically he had 3 other numbers, so it's like that don't really count.
But I mean, listen, if this were a Jaguar show, that'd hold a lot more weight. I'll put it that way.
He did rock that single bar face mask or whatnot pretty well back in the day too with that. But the one thing that you guys have as an argument over me for both of your picks is, Lidstrom didn't win a Stanley Cup, so he doesn't have a championship, but he did get the MVP in one season out of those 25, and just to get the MVP in the game of hockey means you had to do well enough with points and assists. And he's a 12-time All-Star, so pretty much for half of his career, he was an All-Star. So to do that for even 5 years, let alone 12, I mean, again, that just speaks volumes. But your picks as well, where both of your picks have championships and have prestigious awards as well, all 3 of them are in different eras. I mean, Pujols and Lidstrom kind of overlapped a little bit, but the last 10 years we had Pujols.
Both of ours too are cultural icons of their own right. I mentioned the songs with Joe. Albert Pujols was on Sesame Street, so
he was on Sesame. Everybody and their mama on Sesame Street. I'm mad at I ain't made it big enough to be on Sesame Street just yet.
Give it time, Travis. Like what? Like,
gotta have goals, man. Gotta have goals.
Life goals. Yes.
That's right.
I'm not Draymond Green. Dang.
I said hater, not hitter, but
I'm sorry. I heard A was for anger, and I'm like, oh dang.
Oh no, H is for hater, but A is for anger. That'd be funny, actually.
No, man, but Joe D, man. All right, so Joe D, that's a hard one for me. Like, again, I even thought about that one for a little bit of time, and I'm like, but Joe, Jackie Robinson ain't even getting into the league until 47, and it's not like when Jackie came in, all of a sudden it was a wave of black people. It was like, it was a drip of black people coming into the league, and that's not even talking about my South American brothers and sisters. Like, we ain't bringing the people in, thunderclapping from Jamaica. Like, nobody else is in the league at that time. And now we're comparing him to all these. Again, these are guys. He's back there playing against plumbers and accountants. Like, this is the Jordan versus LeBron argument. Honestly, that's what it felt like. When as soon as we started having that conversation, I'm like, this ain't the same though, because Jordan played against these little small dudes. You got Albert Pujols playing against all these like incredible athletes, guys who are consistently throwing over 100 miles an hour. Like, these just aren't comparable. But I do understand your foundation argument. You're not going to have the recent guys if you don't have those guys, but also those old guys in those days sometimes work second jobs. A lot of the times we're legally taking steroids, which they can't do these days. And it's just like,
is what you're speaking to, first of all, with that. And most of the reasons why that was taking place is the players of that day were asked to do a lot more and earning a lot less, to your point, taking second jobs, to where they cannot do it professionally and train to be the athletes that you come to see these days.
Agreed.
So, I like I say, it's purely the foundation argument. There have been other podcasts where I've hated to capitulate the foundation argument, and I've had it beaten over my head as much as it sucks. Hell, even in movies on Hilarity by Default with my guy Demosthenes Euclid, he'll come out with his foundational argument trash. Bing! So, it was a situation where I felt kind of compelled to take it, just because, in my opinion, taking nothing from the pool hole stance, as much as it served me lately, I couldn't get past the foundation argument once again.
This has definitely been an interesting year, some change of this nonsense with Albert Pujols. I mean, it's been, a year and a half. It's been a little over a year because the season just ended and we didn't have him this year because he retired. So a lot has changed in that year. I tell you what, wow, even thinking about it now that we are finally getting this show back, the second break that we've had with this show this year. Next year, 2024, I'm looking to have it more consistent. But had to shape some things up. Got some other programs or whatnot throughout this channel and other platforms as well that, as you see so far throughout the first 4 rounds, it's a pretty in-depth process as far as the way things are prepped for it. So when it comes to that, we have gone through those first 4 of the 5 rounds. We've only got one more left, that being the final round. But we'll see after this one last commercial break. We'll see here in about 2 minutes.
Football, and more football, you say? Well, tune in to Total Football Talk. Join your hosts, Drew Willingham.
You were playing like a dumpster Pelican quarterback.
And Cole Johnson.
It sets up for possible play action. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott?
As they take you through all the paces, both on the field and in the boardroom, of Total Football Talk. Every Tuesday at
9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central.
Exclusively on the SIRTOBA Media and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel. If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
And welcome back, as we have now gone through the first 4 rounds of this show. Right here with one more left, the final round. Let's go ahead and see what we got in store for this one. I know you guys have plenty of experience covering this one.
Final round.
Here at the final round, the Jacksonville Jaguars will finish the season strong and win the division despite a disappointing showing in Week 15 against Baltimore. Kyle Nash, lead the way. How do you feel about this one? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I feel like you're teasing the Duval Dive for this week with this one, buddy. But yeah, bing, absolutely. Even leading up to this, I had to struggle, but I'm gonna say I'm in. While panic buttons are being hit all over Duval County, and while I have no disdain for the Duval devout, such as they are, especially my diehards like Travis, who have their "This Team Makes Me Drink" t-shirt, and rightly so, have had to deal with the lights of disasters and draft picks such in their, let's say, tenure as fans as such, that there's plenty of reason to be, how you say, traumatically impacted and go, well, here we go again. Especially with the disturbing news involving Trevor Lawrence's protocol with the potential concussion situation, and then being into Monday where Doug Peterson can't answer a question about it during the press conference. But that all being said, there's still 3 weeks. And I wrote about it on the Jaguar Report as early as last week after the Cleveland game. Bing! The that it's still not time to panic. Listen, at the end of September, I had the Jaguars winning the AFC South with only 10 wins. They already have 8. Other entities out there, like my editor at the Jaguar Report, bing, John Shipley, and even guys as notably out there as notable as Peter King nationally, said 13 wins. I told him to pump the brakes. Travis did the same. 10 wins is what is going to do well and make the playoffs. I'm fairly certain of that. Is it a guarantee they'll win the division? The Colts and Texans have entered the chat. I'll give them that much credit. But that all being said, the remaining schedule is Baker Mayfield, is Bryce Young, is possibly Will Levis, depending on his injury status. Who knows? That's what's remaining after that. I'm pretty confident that the Jags can handle business there, because say what you will, and for all the hype that's been surrounding the alleged prince that was promised, according to Nick Wright, that this is Trevor Lawrence's team. What we're about to learn is that all along this has been Josh Allen's team as the main defensive cog for the part of the ball, or part of the team, rather, the side of the ball that has actually dictated this team's success. I'm sure Travis will build on that and more as he goes on, because I'm certain he may disagree, but he's going to acknowledge the defense because he's a good analyst. And at day's end, I've written more articles about the defense than I have the offense because of what they've done in each and every level of that position group. That's the reason why they're going to finish strong. They're going to face quarterbacks that can't take the pressure. Granted, even with injuries, I get it. The defense has some, but Josh Allen has been strong all year. Trayvon Walker, though assuredly a bust, according to the Duval Dive, has done his part. And I think that's going to be enough to at least get a playoff appearance. Maybe not win the division, but a playoff appearance.
How do you feel, Travis? Do you agree with him on this one? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm out. And the life of a Jaguar fan who has been beat down by a decade of these expectations, these offseason expectations, and finally we get a generational quarterback, quote unquote. Finally, we have an adequate coaching staff. Finally, we have the grown-ups in the front office, supposedly. And I don't know about this one. Winning the division, like in my Jim Mora voice, like I'm focused. I'm reaching the point where I'm no longer a believer that this coaching staff is going to be able to right the ship without a full offseason just to bring in more talent. Like I really truly feel that they have a GM issue at this current point in time. Like they badly need a center. They have issues at offensive guard. They need help there. Just to have a semblance of a running game. And at this point is like alarms going off because it just hasn't gotten better since early in the season. They need an edge. They need a contested catch receiver. Their real issues up front on the D line and on the O line, are deep-rooted issues that kill teams. And that's kind of where my issues come in. That's where my pessimism comes in. And Nash knows I am a pessimistic Jaguar fan, and I'm cautiously pessimistic. Like I'm still going to look at the film and tell you what the film says. However, who else knows exactly what I'm saying is true? Doug Peterson. Because Doug Peterson got fired in Philadelphia when his offensive line had 17 different combinations because they had injuries, because that's what failed his offense, because his scheme mandates that they have a horizontal offense and they're going to run that off of play action and try to dominate the run game. They are not able to run the ball right now, which is making their offense, the whole offensive scheme, just struggle. And that's where we are. So we currently have Trevor Lawrence in the concussion protocol. We have Kristen Kurt on IR. We have Zay Jones, who is now week to week. So the Jaguars missing 2 of their top 3 receivers. And this is just on offense. We got Cam Robinson on IR, the Jaguars left tackle. Bruh, this is just offense that I'm talking about. So yes, I'm not just out. Like I have legitimate concerns that if the Jaguars lose against the Buccaneers, all of a sudden those playoff chances are legitimately a coin flip. Like we are at a point where we're having real conversations, depending on what Indianapolis does and the Texans do. that the Jaguars, like 56% chance of making the playoffs at that point. We're not talking about winning the conference. We're talking about, are they going to be in?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when it comes to that, you guys put very, very great points out there. And it's like the first time throughout this entire episode where basically what I say tips the scales, because you're in and Travis is out. And I was honestly on the fence with this one at this point, because I was thinking both things, like similar things both of you were saying. And with that, I'm convinced that I'm out. This right here, when it comes to Jacksonville Jaguars, what they have left for the last 3 weeks of the season, they have some tough components. I mean, looking at this right here, you got the Titans in the last game of the season, which, yeah, they've had a bunch of question marks with their team, but they definitely have been making some noise throughout and giving teams a hard time throughout. The Panthers, you're going to win that game, because if you even are in playoff contention by the point of the Buccaneers game and you lose to the Panthers, you're absolutely done at that point. But this first week that you have this next game with the Buccaneers, when you have old Bunker Stayfield, which is what I like to call him there on Total Football Talk, and you think about how he's played. Yes. Thank you, Kyle Nash. Thank you very much, because I cannot do that as well as you. I've been practicing, but it doesn't work out as great as yours. So having that special effect right now with saying that, it helped me out big time. Now, back to Jacksonville Jaguars. The Buccaneers team is definitely a team that doesn't have Tom Brady on it anymore. A man that I had the other saying for, but I'm not even going to entertain that right now with Kyle Nash. But right here with the Buccaneers, I mean, they've been making noise throughout this season. Baker Mayfield definitely has had somewhat of a resurgence, but he's also proven that he's not consistent, as something that we saw back when he was with the Browns. I mean, at this point in the season with Baker Mayfield, I don't think this team, even if he was healthy, would be 9-5 and be at this point in the season. But that's a different division. And right here between the Jags, the Texans, and the Colts, I mean, it's close. It's 8-6. But the biggest thing you got to look at here with the Jags, you're on a 3-game losing streak, okay? The momentum is not in your favor. So you've lost 3 straight. Do you really expect to go into these last 3 weeks and win 2 out of 3 to keep it interesting, or run the table to definitely win? And in that chance, if you did that, you would need out of the team – the matchup in the last week, I think when the Texans and the Colts, you would need the Colts to win that game, and you would have to win the remainder of the 3 games of the season in order to make this happen with the division. If I remember looking this up right, I could be wrong, but because that last game of the season in week 18 is a divisional game, and the way that things have gone down with the Texans, definitely been making some noise in games that we didn't think they were going to be winning, and at one point were really hot. Kind of cooled down a little bit over the last month and some change. But who's really cooled down is the Jags, because they were 8-3 coming into that point and are now 8-6. And thinking about all that at this point, even though you have 3 weeks left in the season and you have an opportunity to win the division, I just don't see it happening here at this point when you've lost 3 games in a row. I have to agree with Travis. I'm out on this.
Well, and I listen, I'm not here to say it was an easy choice at all. I mean, I have my doubts too. The concerns on injury for injury on the offensive line are there. And I mean, listen, Travis can bring up Cam Robinson all he wants. We're well documented, or at least I am well documented in multiple shows, as well as the Duval Dive, that Cam Robinson out. It's just a week that ends in Y, so to speak. This dude's always out every year. I said 2 years ago with Travis that he shouldn't have been extended on an episode of the Student of the Game. Bing!
We agree.
Saying that very same thing. Fair point, with that characteristic nod of like, he's not wrong. Okay, so that's something I feel like they've overcome. What I'm worried about, and here's why I will support Travis's point, is Ezra Cleveland and Walker Little, the guys that are stepping in at the left tackle's position throughout the year, even though they're both guards, technically, right? And having a rookie on the other side, Anton Harrison, as great as he's doing, he's still a rookie on the other side. That's had to face a lot of tough dudes. But what percentage are they performing, Walker Little and Ezra Cleveland? At what percent are they at? Is it 80-something? Is it 90-something? It's not 100. I mean, yeah, the argument can be made. No one's 100% at this point in the NFL. But if Cam Robinson's your main concern, which I know it's not, that ain't the one. That being said, listen, there's plenty of concern for the offense. I'm even willing to say they might lose to Hey in Tampa Bay with what's going on with Baker Mayfield. Of course, that's on the board. Let's not get stupid. I also think the Bucks are feeling themselves a little too much, and that'll definitely work in the Jags' favor. But you expect me to believe that this defense is going to fold against Will Levis and Bryce Young, Bryce Young. I can't do it.
I expect them to beat the Panthers. To your point, at least that I will agree with that. They will beat the Panthers. If they don't beat the Panthers, I will make the exact same argument I made for Arthur Smith. Somebody's got to go. Like, because again, these are literally the same two teams that we were just talking about. Atlanta, you lose against the Bucks and then you lose against the Panthers. Okay. You got to go. Like that was the original argument.
Out if they lose to the Panthers, that's what you're saying.
I'm out. Yeah, if they lose to the Panthers, I'm Jesus got it. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I can't. Like I can't deal with this. That's a little past drinking. I need to go to confession. Like that's another thing. But this
mint julep. I get you.
Yeah, man. But if they win against the Panthers, so at this point you're assuming the victory against the Panthers, but I'm personally assuming the loss against the Bucks. If Trevor's not playing, I think that's a wrap. And the most recent situation where we had someone who had a concussion, I believe it was a receiver for the Bengals, got a concussion and came back after a week. But for the most part, most people who in the 2023 NFL season who have had concussions didn't play the next week. So I'm leaning towards, hey, if he had a concussion after the game and he self-reported it, that's a hard one. He's probably not going to play. And if that is the case, I do believe that Tampa Bay then wins that game. And at that point, then it really does come down to, really, we're just saying who's going to win, the Jaguars or the Titans. That's the conversation we're really having. Are they going to beat the Titans or are they going to lose to the Titans? And I just recently saw the Titans beat Miami. I have recently saw the Jaguars lose against two backup quarterbacks. I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm not saying Miami's, the San Francisco 49ers, but I am also saying
Tyreek Hill, by the way. I think that should be mentioned if we're being fair, right? Sans Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill came back into the game later. He wasn't his full self, but I watched every play of that game. Like I get your point. Yeah, I get your point. But yeah, that wasn't just them. That Dolphins defense sucks. They just suck at intercepting the ball. That pissed me off as a DB. You know what that is. That their hands on balls and they just drop them. But guess what? The Jaguars defense has also been sucking lately. And we can't pretend that's not been happening. So
against who?
Against who? Doesn't matter. Against Joe Flacco, who just threw 3 picks last week against Chicago? Okay. This week, I'm sorry, against Chicago?
Picking the week where they're objectively, according to your very article on BigCatCountry.com, bing, that was the longest list of injuries they've had all year. A, B, they also did a great job supplanting Lamar Demetrius Jackson last night. They were just put into some pretty awful situations that led to at least directly 6 of their points. But Kyle, Jake Browning lit them up. Yeah, it was one of the best skill groups in the entire NFL.
Oh no, it's not about Jake Browning for me though.
The Jags, like they can stop everybody, and then he didn't stop him.
My issue was even
against in that game.
Who? Wait.
He's 32-37.
Who did you say, Drew? I missed it.
Talking about the Bengals. You're talking about Browning.
Jake Browning.
One of the best skill groups
in overtime
in the NFL. Yeah. And they still made it to overtime, the Jags, with all the injuries they had, including losing Christian Kirk early, including Fularonsu Fatukasi, who apparently the only people who like to talk about him with his talent is me and Travis, but that's a whole other conversation. This is why friends don't let friends watch ESPN. Without both starting quarters eventually in that game, and Andre Cisco getting shipped out. When you're missing that much, I don't give a damn who you're a rookie of or what college you went to, or if you're going to get a drug test next week or not. With the best skill group in the league, you're going to do some stuff.
Don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. And again, we've already talked about it. We're in agreement in a lot of things, and we're even in agreement on why they lost against the Bengals and why they lost against the Browns. Unfortunately, the Ravens did a lot of the same things that the Browns have done as far as made the Jaguars struggle in those 2 tight end sets. And Isaiah Likely, the Baltimore Ravens tight end, what goes off. I don't even know how many yards he had last night, but it was a freaking lot. He was their leading receiver in the game for the Ravens.
Touchdown catch where he broke open. He made a great play. Listen, I'm taking nothing from what the Ravens did, nor the failures that did occur
my overall point is that they're putting it on film, and now I've seen it on film 3 times, and that's where my concern lies. Is hey, anytime I see something that's on film, that's the first time we talked about it. We even did a breakdown on the Duval dive.
Sure did.
And then the next time I'm like, all right, this isn't a problem. And now the third time, the Ravens had nothing going on the whole game, nothing other than the tight end, and we couldn't stop it. And now it's on film for a team. They don't have to be good. They simply have to let us be bad. And that's what the Ravens did. I know it's the Ravens, but the Ravens didn't dominate us in very many ways. The Ravens simply just showed up and said, watch these dudes just struggle to tie their shoelaces and chew gum. And they're going to trip over and they're going to screw this up. And that's what the Jaguars did. And that's why I don't have the confidence. It's not about these other teams. It's about the fact that these guys can't play basic high school football right now. And it's driving me nuts.
Well, and listen, this is where your intelligence, I believe, is serving against you just a wee bit. And this is the last point I'll make, and I'll let you put a bow on it afterward, because you've done a great job here tonight on your first appearance on the In or Out Sports Debate here on SIRTOBA Media. There's no question. Okay, I don't mean to do your job for you, Drew Willingham. I got to give my due props. But bing, I guess. Can you bing the show that you're on? I don't know. I need to work on that. The band you're going to see. I know that's a no-no. But anyway, listen, Travis, here's where I think we're a little bit different. It's a point you and I have both made on the Duval dive, Bing.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about something being on film. I've capitulated that the Bucs winning in Tampa on Christmas Eve is on the bingo card.
Yeah.
I that was the lead. They're still going to get 10 wins. Why? You could put something on film all day. You and I have both ascribed to this on the Duval dive, that if you don't have the personnel to execute it, it ain't a thing. And I don't think Carolina, nor even the Titans at this juncture, have that personnel to do so.
Then I believe that's where the rub happens. It's not even about Carolina. It's about the Titans. The Titans. It's 2022 all over again. And in every way, this season has gone the opposite of how 2022 went.
And they have a worse quarterback than Josh Dobbs.
Last game of the season, when you're in against the Tennessee Titans, it went one way last year, and that was a struggle bus game. Let's call it what it is. And we'll see how it goes this year.
But Travis, what ultimately won that game?
It was a turnover for a touchdown by the defense.
No, Ken. Okay, just not.
Yeah, but this season has gone the opposite. So then, what would lose them this game this time? It will be.
I'll put it this way: if Will Levis beats that defense, I am more than happy to give you every ounce and iota, infinitesimal, or not infinitesimal.
Don't do this.
As it should be.
Don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it.
All that credit, if that's what happened.
I don't want credit, man. I'm a fan of the team. I don't just cover them. Like I don't want the credit. Don't put that on me. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby? Because no, I don't.
It's a consolation prize.
I don't want the credit. I want my team to be good. I don't want to be right. I'd rather be wrong. I would love to be wrong right now.
Basketball hoop. I'm getting ready to dunk on that.
All right, cool. But if the Jaguars win 2 out of 3, if assuming they lose against the Bucs, if they win the next 2, they have a 67% chance to win the division. It's still not guaranteed, but it's more likely than not until you see what happens in the other games. So
yeah, we haven't even accounted for. That's a good point. We haven't even accounted for how much the Texans may help them if CJ Stroud doesn't come back. We haven't accounted for the colting potentially on the way out too. That's a great point.
There you go.
There are some question marks there, but we do have to at least address the fact that the Jags last time when they played the Titans, they mollywopped. So they have a good chance of doing that again for their last one. So I was just joshing you, Kyle Nash, for a second when it came to those Titans. But when you think about it, out of all 3 of these teams, if CJ Stroud comes back based on what we've seen him do all year long, there's a better chance the Texans taking this thing than the Jags do. And that's just why I have no hope in the Colts and Uncle Rico at quarterback. Okay, I'm throwing that out there all season. They're lucky to even be in the consideration with their record at this point. But the Colts have to play both of these teams, or especially the Jags. No, they have to play the Texans. Yeah. And with that being said, they're not going to beat the Texans. And the Colts are definitely not going to beat the Buccaneers. I mean,
I heard somebody tell me the Vikings wouldn't beat the 49ers either, but here we are. I was told the Jets wouldn't beat the Texans.
The Raiders just threw 60 plus points last Thursday night. There's no way the Colts are going to beat that if they come out there and play like that. But Aiden O'Connell looked way better than what I had him projected to play in that game. And I think he's going to throw for 400 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns and all those yards. I didn't think it's going to happen. I don't know why it's a 400. But in that, when it comes to that, 4 touchdowns and lead that team to a 60-plus point victory, you have to give it to him for that. And that's why I think the Colts are going to get decimated when they play them on New Year's Eve.
So you think if Stroud returns that they're going to win all 3 games, essentially, is what you're predicting. They're going to beat the Browns this week, they'll beat the Titans, and they'll beat the Colts.
They're going to have a tough challenge if this week, I feel like out of the 3 games, they're going to potentially lose, but they could win the last 2.
Oh, one of the last two wouldn't give them the division. They'd have to win all 3.
Correct. But not if the other cards unfold for the other team.
Oh, wait, you're saying if Jacksonville loses.
If Jags lose the Bucks and the Texans lose the Browns, they're still alive, okay? And it can still take it in the last 2 weeks.
It's less than 1% chance. Like it's because you're forgetting the tiebreakers. Because we cover the team, we know what we've heard this conversation way too much. But no, at that point that'd be an indie conversation. It's just because of the tiebreakers. They'll have the same record, but technically still be behind. So basically, it's another game behind.
Well, if the Texans beat them, they were the ones that play them in Week 17.
Yeah,
Week 18.
18.
I got you. No. I'm looking. I literally have it up right now. The New York. Just trust me. Just believe me when I'm telling you. Like, believe me. Hear me now. Believe me later. But just trust me when I'm telling you. I'm looking at it on my screen with the playoff predictor. Like, if they lose against the Browns, or they lose against the Colts, or they lose against the Texans, the division record then is done too much damage that it's less than a 1% chance that they can win the division at that point. They have to win all. They have to win out.
comes back. They're going to get their Christmas present this week, and they're going to continue the quest to win 3 straight. And I'm just going to call that now to get some type of support within this.
Cool.
I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm just going to go with it.
Here's the support you're going to get, Drew Willingham. I'm on record already as of last week saying there'll be 2 AFC South teams in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
I mean
that's great. That's great for the AFC South. I mean, Trevor Lawrence doesn't like it, but yeah, he publicly said that. He's like, no, I want him to be sorry, like as sorry as it can be. I
was there. I saw it in person.
It's possible. I mean, we just saw not too long ago 3 out of 4 NFC East teams make the playoffs, and almost had the opportunity for the first time in history with all the rule changes to see all 4.
That was going to be crazy.
Is it possible for all 3 AFC South teams to make the playoffs?
It's going to be real difficult.
I don't think so with that last Week 18 game.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody has to fall completely apart.
Because the Texans and the Colts play Week 18. If it was at this point with 3 games left of the season and the tiebreakers were a little bit closer, then I think we would have a chance for that. Because it was the same situation with the NFC East not too long ago where they had the possibility towards the end where almost all 4 teams could make the playoffs. It was decided within the last 2 weeks that wasn't going to be the case.
And then Ron Rivera happened.
Yeah, and then, of course, I didn't know it was going to be able to have a playoff. Come on, man. That's why we were all baffled that you still stuck around after that.
I got you. So, yeah, I mean, it would really take all 3 teams to be a 10-win team and then somebody else to fall off.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Which, I mean,
I would enjoy that.
The Browns directly play one of the teams, so it's on the bingo card.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess we shall see how that goes, but definitely some great fire from that with you guys. I mean, like you said, you guys know this very well, just like when it comes to the Commanders for me. You guys cover this each and every week. And then, of course, I cover it with Total Football Talk, but not to the degree of what you do with the Duval Dive, which is definitely a great show. Definitely keep it. Yeah, you gave me a bing that time. It was great. I got the bing from Kyle Nash for giving him a verbal bing without even saying bing. It worked out. It was great. I love it. Great job with that one there, Kyle Nash.
Cole Johnson while we're here, by the way.
No, and I look forward to whenever the next invite comes that we can talk trash about your Washington Commanders, Red Tails, whatever they're called.
I'm going to throw that topic in there.
Yeah.
And maybe even the 49ers after tonight, too, for Kyle Nash, too. But before we do that, because you will have a final word to get any final thoughts at, we do have to acknowledge one more thing, and that is the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Here to acknowledge in the Vault of Fame, Kyle Nash first with his 10 times here in the Vault of Fame with episode 105. And again, we have to now, for the first time, he joins us now in the vault as he's locked in the vault there. Travis Holmes is now in the vault with everybody else in that long list, that Star Wars list that you saw at the beginning of this show. Right here is the leaderboard. As you can see, Joey Raymond still has the stranglehold on Rob Johnson and Kyle Nash and everybody else, but there is a long ways to go, but it can definitely be attained. We shall see when you can check these shows out right here on these platforms, SIRTOBA.com, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Guys, we're back for 105, and we only have one more thing left to do before we roll on out, and that is the final word. The final word, basically out of everything we talked about in this episode, even when we went sideways and went off the rails for a minute, throw some shade at the Commanders if you want to. I don't advise it, but you can do it if you want to. This is your moment to do so. And we'll start off this being led off with the one and only 10-time right now Vault of Fame inductee, Kyle Nash.
An honor, joy, and privilege to make another appearance. And listen, as tempted as I am to remind Drew Willingham that Sam Howell has more L's in his name than his, that's why it's a problem. I'm not going to do that tonight. Listen, at the end of the day, guys, here's the thing. And we were having a very great season where the MVP race, you would have to go 2 or 3 candidates down before someone would bring up a quarterback. And Justin Jefferson got hurt. Tyreek Hill's injury this past week might impact his ability to hit the 2,000-yard mark, which would be necessary for a receiver to get an MVP. And people are still too hung up on Brock Purdy to recognize that he's not there without Christian McCaffrey, because apparently if you play running back, nobody cares about you if you're in the lamestream media. And that being said, if you're going to do your lame trash to bring a quarterback, to force a quarterback into the MVP award, don't make it Dak Prescott. Don't even make it Brock Purdy. I know I'm not supposed to say that as a 49ers fan, but I'm here. The guy that needs to be the MVP candidate that no one's talking about, and maybe it's a social problem, maybe it's not. I know somebody will think so out there in the ether. But why am I not hearing more names, or rather more votes for a particular name, or a set of 3 names as he's earned them? One of the few guys who don't have a Super Bowl that has the honor. Lamar Demetrius Jackson. Why is he not an MVP candidate? Not only has Zay Flowers done amazing things as a rookie, not only is he putting up good numbers without Mark Andrews, it's still very likely he gets a touchdown from a tight end when he's in a football game. But he's revitalized the career of one Old Man Bones Beckham Jr., which is funny, calling a guy old man and then ending the name in junior, but that's a separate conversation. He's performing in ways throughout this season that we haven't seen since the Super Bowl, where he had one John Matthew Stafford throwing him in the football, and he was this damn close to being the Super Bowl MVP until he got injured the first time, which too, he was having a lot of trouble coming back, and then he got stuck in the dumpster fire in Cleveland. But all of that exists because Lamar Demetrius Jackson's passing prowess. Everybody knows about his run game. Everyone claims he can't pass the football. Riddle me this. If he can't pass the football, how come those 3 targets I mentioned are getting so many receiving yards? But no one wants to talk about that, Drew Willingham.
You just did. And you definitely showed us the way when it came to that. And I appreciate your time as well there, my man. And look forward to seeing what we have to do again here on down the road when it comes to this show and other projects down the road as well. But when it comes to the final word again, I have to give this one to Travis. Travis, let us know what's on your mind based on everything we discussed in this show and beyond. What is your final word there, sir?
So my final word is, that Lamar Jackson, to Kyle's point, is a great quarterback who should be in the conversation. However, he does not have the touchdowns needed to be an MVP candidate. However, he did mention Tyreek Hill while also breezing over the fact that Tyreek Hill, what cemented him in that MVP conversation is the fact that Miami looked like hot garbage against the Tennessee Titans as soon as he got injured in that game. Like his injury, a lot like the argument for FSU quarterback Jordan Travis, is his injury is what shows just how important he is to this team. Not only that, he's has 1,500 yards receiving, man, which is a goal for most receivers in any case, and he still has that with 3 games left in the season. Tyreek Hill is your MVP. If he hits 2,000 yards, it should be just guaranteed, and let's just give the man a trophy and let's not even have a celebration. But even if he doesn't, I still think it should be cemented. Brock Purdy's not your MVP. That is obviously Christian McCaffrey. And at the end of all of this, it shouldn't be much of a conversation, but to his point, yeah, you don't want to kind of pigeonhole this as a quarterback only award just to give it to the realistically 4th, 5th best quarterback in the league right now. And the last thing is I am sorry for your loss, sir. Your team is terrible right now. I know you understand it very well. But I feel the worst for Eric Bieniemy. Like that sucks for that dude. He goes to that team and likely be on his way out the door, because I have to assume you guys are cleaning house, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
that sucks.
Guys, this has definitely been what I love to say and repeat the sentiments from Kyle Nash. An honor, joy, and privilege to share the stage here with you tonight. But it's now time, before we do get on out of here, for me to throw a little bit of fire myself, because I got fired up at the beginning of this show right here. And it was by old Mickey Delaney with the comments talking about the Commanders. We went way sideways when it comes to that for about 10 minutes. And why? Deservingly so, because this team right here absolutely sucks. They suck really bad. If you go back and watch the Commanders Gridiron Report, I spent the entire show saying that they sucked. Why? Because they got some question marks, not only that offensive line. And Travis, you tried very, very well to kind of sidetrack me with the whole, yeah, but they're 19th in the amount of time, and Sam Howell's had to drop back there and throw some passes. Well, I mean, that's a great point. But 19th isn't that great either. It's just barely under 50% of the league, because you're not even at 16th or higher. It's not anything I get excited about. Now, what people have been telling me over the past day or so, Jacoby Brissett, he goes in there, throws 2 touchdowns, and he had the same amount of time that Sam Howell did. I get that. But he's got quicker release. He's a little bit more mobile. Sam Howell is a little bit more known as a pocket quarterback. He does have some moments where he can, extend some plays with his legs, but not like Jacoby Brissett has been known for throughout the tenure of his career. So if they start Jacoby Brissett throughout the remainder of the next 3 weeks, which they're not going to, because Ron Rivera said earlier today when speaking with the media that he's not going to do that. He basically wanted to protect Sam Howell. Sam Howell got protected, one, from taking any more hits, because the man's already taken 59 sacks throughout the season. 2, he can kind of watch Jacoby Brissett and learn based on his delivery and how he breaks down a defense when he's seeing it on the other side. So for that, I at least have to agree with Ron Rivera on one thing this entire year. But they have been playing like a team that's basically supposed to be a team, but they are dumpster Pelicans within those uniforms, playing terribly. Absolutely terrible. I hate it. I hate watching this team play. You want to sit here and talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, make you drink. What does that make the Commanders fans do? No wonder why, for I'd say about 20 years now, I've said that this team leads the league in the amount of cardiac arrest in the entire league as far as fans watching this team right here. So for my final word, I was not expecting to talk about the Commanders on this show. I had no plan to talk about them at all for this show. Mickey Delaney had their comments out there, got me fired up. And then I'm basically getting shade thrown at me, being a Commanders fan or covering the Commanders or whatever in certain ways. So now I have to come back and say, at least the defensive parts to it, and that being that it all starts the offensive line. And we're not going to be 100% spot on each and every time we make an analysis on something. But what I will tell you is this, and we can revisit this a year or two from now. I think people are giving up on Sam Howell a little too quick. Kyle Nash will sit here and say, you can not play well because you have 2 L's in your name.
3
L. Well, wait, he's got that in his first name. You can't combine the first name with one. You have a space in between. You can't have 3 L's.
I had to make sure he had more L's than you.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But just because they have an L in their name. Travis has an L in his name, but I'll see you throwing all that shade at him.
Yeah, well, he's got only one L that he gets handed from me every week. That's why.
Oh man, there it is. Kyle Nash. That was fire right there. I gotta give it to him on that one.
That was solid.
Kyle Nash. I'm just glad to be here tonight for one.
That was solid.
That was solid. Because yesterday, which I will talk about this week on Thursday's episode, we'll talk about the events that were this past weekend where I almost didn't make it home today. And I'm glad that I was able to throw the show together earlier today. Plus this one, because guys, it came close. Like 4 minutes before we jumped on, I had the show done. So as far as what we just did today, and we'll talk about that more on Thursday night with that episode. But for this episode 105 right here, can't thank you both enough for being here for this entirety of this episode. We've gone for almost 2 hours. We only got one more thing left to do. Let's look at one semi-badass outro. For myself, Drew Willingham, Kyle Nash, Travis D. Holmes of the Duval Dive podcast you can see on SIRTOBA each and every Friday. Everyone, stay safe out here in these streets.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I forgot to say this. We will not be back next week because it's Christmas. And we will not be back the week after that because of New Year's. But we will be back on January 8th for the next episode, 106, and here each and every Monday at this time, 8:05 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights. You can check this show. Again, everyone, stay safe out here in these streets.